brings to the scene right now as it loads up into picks and bans. Gambit Gaming taking on Roccat.
Yeah, and in this particular matchup, it's going to be Gambit that's on the hot streak. They are the favorites by a large margin, 6-0, undefeated. If they pick up a win against Roccat, it will be 7-0. And traditionally, seeing Assassins banned against Nukeduck, that's no surprise.
Yeah. On the other side, Gambit, they have an assassin of their own. Betsy has just had a monster performance. 2 games out of the 3 he's been on this squad. We will see how that goes this game. Caston, Nidalee taken off the board for Roccat on their side. Gambit taking their time with the last one.
So we'll see if they want to go for a first pick Zed. It's something that we have seen a few times. It is something that Betsy performed on very well yesterday. And I was quite impressed with how he carried himself on that champion, despite having a few questionable engages here and there. But overall, it was very well played. We did also see Morgana, very high priority for Gambit. They first picked it against Copenhagen Wolves yesterday in a game that Gambit ended up coming out ahead. And with the 2 jungle bans, it also makes some questions. What do they want to run in the jungle? You do still have, a few available, but the top tier picks of Jarvan and Rek'Sai taken off.
Yeah, some confidence here from Gambit in their temp mid laner, though. That is another Zed first pickup there. Zed 5-1-7 Betsy had that game yesterday. I mean, a huge performance for him. And they are trusting.
Why not? I mean, when Betsy's been on Assassin, Ahri last week and Zed yesterday, it has been very impressive. I think mechanically he's sound, and he's very clearly following the leaders of Cabochard and Edward. We heard last week, actually, how Gambit's main shot call is in-game. Our Cabochard and Edward, actually was Leviathan that was saying it. So we need to see if Betsy can keep up that rhythm and keep dealing with whatever plays his opponents put in front of him.
That will be the test indeed. Let's see what Roccat wants to take. Got about 15 seconds on that clock. I don't think it'll be Jungle Taric somehow.
I don't think so either, but I think it's quite smart of them to lock in the Kalista, take that away from Pinoy. It is an AD carry that he's been trending towards, but for somebody like Pinoy, he also has pulled out the likes of Graves, done incredibly well with it. We've seen Tristana's doing fantastically. He ran that yesterday and just destroyed towers after being gifted a comfortable laning phase. So for Gambit to lock in the same duo lane, I think that's smart. The question for me is, what is Vander going to play? Thresh is still available. We've seen the Kalista plus Alistar do particularly well. Kalista plus Blitz has also done well. But these are champions we don't see Vander on all of the time. So we'll see what Roccat decide to pair with their AD carry.
This will be the first time Woolite will have his hands on the Kalista. See what he makes of that one. Pinoy and Edward happy with their pickups there. Do want to see what Roccat do take next. It was a very, very early Kennen pickup for them. So Gambit, they have the potential to do the counter pick now. That does go in the top lane. We'll see what they go for.
Yeah, it's going to be a tough question because Roccat is the team with their back against the wall. They're coming into this game 4 wins and 7 losses, sitting down at the bottom half of the European table. Very, very risky position to be in, because if they don't crack the top 6, they may find themselves in the promotion tournament, which for a team with all of this expectation is shocking. After 6 weeks of games, Roccat has been underperforming for so long, we can no longer actually call them a top-tier team on the stage. Everybody keeps talking about them. All of the coaches say how good Roccat are on scrims and how individually talented they are. Unfortunately, they just continually disappoint, and they need to figure out how to fix it. We do see Nukeduck locking in that Ezreal. Double AD. I don't know. I don't think Roccat did well enough with their double AD last week when they ran it. They floundered a little, and with Janna available as a very good disengage support, Roccat are going to go for the engage route, Kennen plus Annie plus this double AD. It hasn't worked for many other teams. We'll see if it can work for them today.
Yeah, they're certainly going to try it now. Of course, we did mention the Tristana Morgana lane. Cabochard can still do this top lane Morgana. It's still an option here. We'll see what they do decide to go with. If they want to take something different for support.
Oh, I'm so happy you mentioned that, because Cabochard has actually been doing probably the best on top lane Morgana here in Europe. We did see Pinoy hover the Victor. The only reason I want to call it out is he said to me before the game started, backstage, that he was going to play Victor. I know that's a lie, because Tristana's been locked in. But for Gambit, the Sejuani pick, Diamond's going to try to make it 2-0. It was the jungler that helped him and Gambit win IEM Cologne. And despite the very early mid, let's try this again in English. Despite the very early laning phase on Sejuani, he scaled well, and he made his late game team fights work.
Yeah, and then they do round that one out by, of course, taking the Janna. They've got the disengage now. They've got a little extra speed boost, and they are going to send the Morgana top once again. It is a little bit squishy of a comp, but of course, the Sejuani can go tanky. What does Rocket answer with, though, on their last pick here?
I have absolutely no idea. They could go... I don't know what jungler. The only option for Jankos is going to be Lee Sin or Elise. Elise has fallen way out of favor, but for a jungler like Jankos, there's comfort picks. The fact that you've got Jarvan and Rek'Sai banned, taken away, that Diamond has opted for a Sejuani over a Lee Sin is just showing you the comfort. But I particularly like the options that Sejuani's going to give you. The engage, the disengage. You've got great split push. You've got great side lane control. The only risk for Gambit is they're very low on magic damage. So if Roccat are able to come out ahead in the laning phase, maybe they can make something work, but they've got a very squishy lineup. They've got this engaged top and support with a double AD. Not a lot of peel, not a lot of protection. That's not an Alistar. So the Kalista Alistar worked for Fnatic because Yellowstar could peel and knock people away. And he's not going to offer that same level of disengage. So for Roccat, they have to be so careful with their positioning. They can't afford to get flanked. And if they do, the damage dealers on Gambit will take them out.
Yeah, it's a really tough proposition to be forced into in that regard. I really feel like Gambit, they played the pick and ban the way they wanted, and Rocket played the one that they expected Gambit to have as the coaches. They shake hands, they walk off stage there. I really think that Rocket are trying to outplay opponents and not necessarily play to their own strengths, and that could be a problem for them.
It could be. On the other token as well, if they've gone for comfort picks, if they've gone for things that they've been practicing and at home scrims and in solo queue, the comfort factor could help them out, but it's so important this laning phase.
Yep, you've heard those calls now. It's time for you to make one of your own and let us know who you think came out ahead in the picks and bans. Tweet over at LOL Esports with the hashtag GMBWin or ROCWin. The crowd is hyped for this matchup. Gambit Gaming, 6 wins in a row. Can they make it 7, or will Rocket derail the hype train? Let's find out.
Well, I think Gambit have got the tools to deal with Roccat. Janna is so powerful at getting rid of the Annie threat as well as the Kennen threat. On the condition that Gambit do not get insta-gibbed from a engage, you're instantly going to peel them away.
All right, well, as we get into this one, let's hear what Vander has to say on what Roccat has been dealing with so far.
I have big experience playing bot lane, Woolite 2, Nukeduck, and Jankos, and Overpool doesn't have that much experience of the role, so I think it's easy for enemies to catch him off guard sometimes, because he still has to learn a lot of things, right? It's not that easy.
I think that's a fair point to say. Vander discussing how Overpower's still learning the role, and it's true, we've seen Overpower had good games, we've seen Overpower have questionable games, but on Kennen, a little bit safer, a little bit of easier laning phase, so we'll see if he can get himself off to a good start today.
Yes, we will see that indeed. This time on that Kennen matchup against Cabochard's Morgana. It's yet to be seen if we're going to get lanes the way we want them, because, of course, Edward's actually backing away on the top side. A lot of warding here by Rocket to try and spy out what they can and get the lanes the way they want them.
Yeah, for Roccat, I think they're probably looking for the 2v2. The threat of an Annie stun at low level, plus the strength of multiple Ren stacks is going to do very well. Keep in mind, Janna can obviously shield some of that damage and auto-harass back quite effectively, but I do feel that the Kalista will do better than a Tristana, so we'll see if Rocket can get their head-to-head lanes. Vision has not revealed anyone from Gambit yet, but Rocket making a relatively smart call and sending their duo bottom to face off against Edward and Pinoy. Pinoy helping out Cabochard with those Krugs.
That will be the way they decide to start him. Diamond is hanging out on his bottom side as well to deal with that red buff early on. Pinoy and Eddie are not going to have anything to contend with just yet, as Vander and Woolite were a little bit late to the party.
Yeah, and something that's also going to work into Rocket's favor. Edward has started boots once again on his support. You've got a lot of mobility on this Janna with her built-in Tailwind, in addition to getting the movement speed when she eventually scales W. But this offers 0 combat stats. So it's interesting to see Eddie playing aggressively in the lane, because if he gets caught by a stun, there is the risk of a lot of return damage from Woolite Vander.
Yeah, they are playing this one out very confidently. We'll see if that bites them in the behind, as Roccat aren't pushing in too far to start this one off. Betsy and Nukeduck will just trade a little bit of poke for each other. Seen a number of these mid lane Ezreals So far, Jankos going to be moving down to his bottom side. Work on the Grom.
Yeah, and Nukeduck's got to be so careful in that lane against Betsy. He's going to be able to farm safely, but once they get to level 6, Nukeduck needs to control that wave very effectively. And if his Arcane Shift is ever down, Betsy's going to have a relatively easy time setting up a kill against this AD carry. We do see in the bottom lane, though, Jankos is sniffing around. First Blood King, he wants more!
Oh, he does indeed. Edward is very low. That First Blood is going to go over to Woolite. 1, 2, 3. Just like that. Yeah, those boots didn't help Edward walk it out fast enough.
No, definitely not. All the mobility in the world doesn't help you if you can't dodge the skill shots, but let's also be fair, it was a flash stun from Vanda, easily set up by Jankos. And Pinoy and Edward, risky play, they get punished for it. And an easy First Blood for Roccat. They've got a nearly 1,000 gold lead, which is a great start for a struggling team.
Absolutely, and importantly enough, it's on Woolite too, who has really struggled to get going on a number of the champions he's played and a number of the matchups that they've had so far. So let's see maybe if that can be the tipping point for him.
Well, we'll see if it works out. Edward has already returned to lane, got a number of wards to work with. But keep in mind, Diamond is really just looking to farm to 6. On the Sejuani, your low-level ganks are not particularly effective. Ooh, that's a lot of damage.
Oh, yeah. Ren's not going to hurt quite as much just yet, but they were able to put a lot of spears in them all the same. Pinoy and Edward still very carefully having to play this one out. Vander and Woolite feeling very strong after that first kill.
Yeah, level advantage in favor of Roccat. There is a massive minion wave building up that Pinoy and Edward are going to try last hit. We'll see how effectively Pinoy can make that work. He does, of course, have a skill in explosive charge, so that can make life a little difficult, getting all of the last hits. But again, we are expecting a similar sort of playstyle from Gambit that we saw yesterday from against Copenhagen Wolves. Time for Sejuani to scale, a little bit of a slower paced laning phase to mid-game, and then looking for big, heavy engages. You combine Sejuani plus Morgana, all of that CC and zoning gives Zed and Tristana all of the time they need to win fights around those objectives.
By as much time as they can. Edward sees the Sentinel, clears that one away from inside of his own jungle. Speaking of the junglers, since that one gank, Janko's been a little bit more quiet. This time he's back at base. It's Diamond who's going to be going back after that to shop. And you know, this isn't too surprising. We saw Diamond do this yesterday, but he really ramped it up in that early mid-game, I would say, and really was able to put a massive wallop the Copenhagen Wolves.
Yeah, now something I do like from this Kalista Annie is the range that they can engage from. If you combo Fate's Call plus the Tibbers, Vanda's not entirely reliant on Flash. So that's going to give Roccat, in theory, more options to look for stuns, more options to look for engages. The only thing they need to be careful of is they need to make sure they deal with the threats of Morgana and Sejuani. In straight-up 5v5s, I do feel the AoE CC that Gambit can put down, as well as the disengage power, will make Rockat's life a little more difficult. So positioning and timing is going to be so important.
Yep. So are contesting the Raptors, it would seem. Jankos is just trying to take a few of those away from Diamond. He secures most of them up for himself, however. Gambit are perfectly happy to sit back for just a moment. They should scale reasonably well into this mid-game. But I want to see where they decide to make their big plays first. They typically haven't been contesting these really early dragons. They have a comp that scales pretty well into the late game as well off the back of the Tristana. But they also have been a much more proactive team than a lot of the other comps that have picked this particular champion up. So where do you think they'll make their first plays, Quickshot?
For Gambit, it's going to be whatever's available. Because they gave up First Blood bottom lane, and you've got Woolite who is, you know, farming up very effectively. He's going to get to his Blade of the Ruined King relatively early on. For Gambit, it's about not hemorrhaging gold. So they may lose a couple of towers. On the condition, they can use the wave clear of Zed, Morgana, and Tristana to defend their inner turrets. They can then look to team fight later on. But for the time being, it's slow and patient. Gambit have traditionally not gone for dragons that are super risky this year. So I'm expecting more of the same. And you're going to have great split pushing potential from that Zed, and eventually even a Tristana with their great wave clear and relatively safe dueling abilities.
They will indeed. Ward cleared out there. Pinoy and Eddie, again, they're still pushed a little bit further back, but you don't really expect to win a lane as Tristana, especially with the early action. You'd think they've been maybe a little bit cowed here, not wanting to go in. You don't know where Jankos is going to be. Although he is not hanging out in the Tri-Brush, Edward is going to eat the charm. Continuing to throw those spears out, though. Woolite pushes Pinoy back.
So this is very good for Roccat. For a team that has not been able to do well in the early game throughout most of their previous matches. They've got CS advantages, however big or small, in every single one of their lanes. They've got 1,500 gold. They've got first blood. But I do feel that this is a testament to the team comp they've put together. They do have strong lanes. They've, with the exception of maybe Nukeduck. But what Roccat needs to do is they need to equate it to towers or to dragons. Because as a double AD comp, you can never afford to fall behind. So as long as they are maintaining touching distance or pushing Gambit further down, they're in a good position.
They're going to try to do that, especially down on this bottom side. Ender Woolite again. They don't want to get too close to eat too much damage from Pinoy, but they're trying to keep him from farming up as much as possible. We haven't talked too much about this top lane. It's been a very quiet affair. And in the middle, of course, Nukeduck just trying to play the survival game while he stacks up his tier.
Yeah, and of course, he's going to be able to farm with Mystic Shots, so should be able to keep Betsy at arm's reach, keep him out of range. The fact that Betsy had to deal with the Vander gank a few minutes ago, still does not have flash available, is also making sure that Nukeduck is not really under threat of being dove. When these pro players don't have that flash available, they tend to play so much safer in lane. I do want to touch on the fact that Diamond does have access to his ultimate, so we need to see where he decides to throw that Glacial Prison down. There's a lot of kill potential in all of the lanes. You can combo the CC top, the damage middle, and the knockups bottom. But Diamond needs to find an opportunity. It may be bottom because Woolite has been pushing quite aggressively.
Now, knowing Diamond, he will pick a place and have an impact. He is being pinged out right now by Roccat, though, as he tries to get a little bit of vision secured up on this bottom side. Let's take a look at the fan vote. According to you guys at home, 62% of you are saying that Gambit is going to win this game, but Roccat Nation still holding firm, 38. Probably a bit closer than we might have expected, just given the fact that Rockat's performances have been pretty hit or miss.
Yeah, I think that's fair. Still a lot of believers in the Roccat squad, and the potential is there, but unfortunately it's not showing through. The one thing I do want to touch on is just some of the items from Gambit. Moby Boots picked up for Diamond ahead of completing his jungle item enchantment, and Edward still does not have any GP10 items. The longer he takes before picking that up, obviously the further behind he puts himself from Vander's Annie. So we do need to keep an eye on the gold differences as the game progresses, but at 10 minutes, Rockat's double AD comp is farming well. They've got their small leads, and with some vision in Gambit's jungle, Roccat may try to set themselves up for an early dragon.
They will indeed. Jankos, fortunately, wasn't able to connect the Sonic Wave on the Scuttle Crab. He's going to take it down all the same, but they do have a lot of people in this area to try and start off this dragon if they want it. They're going to take their time about it, however. Again, Roccat, another one of those more risk-averse teams, if you will.
Risk-averse is a great way of putting it. Yesterday, Roccat just simply gave up far too many dragons that they lost the game. You can feel they've definitely learned from it. All of those vision wards placed down, stealth wards rather, is going to allow Roccat to make a play on the dragon if and when they feel they've got the advantage. It is now, but there is a ward here from Gambit. The problem is Diamond is very, very far away. So Diamond most likely going to give this one, Gambit rather, going to give this one up uncontested. And Roccat, again, they're doing everything right. They don't have pressure on towers, but it's not necessarily the end of the world. They're looking for item breakpoints, and then they can group up and really hammer down towers quickly with two AD carries.
Overpow was able to rush his way away from the Dark Binding. Yeah, again, we haven't really touched too much on this top side. It's just a pair of needlessly large rods, really, for the two of them. It's been kind of a farm fest in that regard, and the junglers haven't gotten involved. And why would you really? And, of course, as I say, a Diamond is going to start moving up there. They're pinging out to see if they want to try to burn something on Overpow. Diamond, they know there's no vision here because there's a pink ward. He's going to take his time about it, and he's actually bringing some friends to the party here. Edward on the roam as well. Let's see if they can get him caught under the tower. Here comes Diamond, reveals himself. Overpow going to burn his flash right away. Here comes the big Koro. And they're going to go and throw the Glacial Prison. Oh, the minion was able to block out the Dark Binding. Overpow, they've committed so much to this, but they really want to pick up the cannon, and Diamond does.
So Gambit commits a lot of resources to that kill. Does it get them a tower, and what does it cost them? The rest of Roccat are responding down on the bottom lane. Pinoy may be in trouble if he sticks around, but wisely, he's backing. So Gambit get themselves on the board, and they should trade towers here. It looks like Cabochard is pushing, so we'll quickly track on who gets those objectives down.
He's denying the minions too. That's a good move from Cabochard. So Gambit, they get the tower trade, they get the 1 kill. Trade in their favor just slightly.
So yeah, even as far as towers are concerned, the additional kill means Rocket obviously come out in a better position. The problem that Gambit have, Pinoy's going to take longer to scale up. He's down 30 CS to his opposite number. Blade of the Rune King is already finished for Woolite. Manamune has been finished for a few minutes of stacking for Nuke Duck, and Overpower's going to be working his way towards this Hourglass. He's only got a few hundred gold to farm before he completes it. So from an item standpoint and from a damage standpoint, Rocket are in a pretty good position. We still do not see a jungle enchantment upgrade for Diamond, so keep that in mind. Interesting itemization, still no GP10 for Edward either. Going to be relying on Janna's utility and the vision from Sidestone.
Yeah, they're really prioritizing that Sidestone vision that they get out there. And a lot of pink wards scattered around the map as well. If you take a look throughout the respective jungles and the rivers, both teams just trying to keep an eye on what the other's doing at all times. 14 minutes into this game, not too much of a gold lead. Betsy now going to jump on a Nuke Duck, but Vander is there. The Tibbers is down, and Betsy just gets blown up.
Yeah, that was really well played. Betsy may have been wanting to go aggressive.
Diamond! He could be in some trouble here. Actually, I think he's going to be okay. A little bit tanky with the Poro.
Yeah, so I really like how reactive Vander was. He saw Betsy go back to the clone. I think Betsy was toying with the idea of going aggressive on Nuke Duck, and that instantly regretted that decision. So Roccat, second kill on the board. Sentinel is not going to spot Pinoy and Edward, but Edward needs to land a knock-up from that Howling Gale. If he doesn't, there's obviously no threat of a kill. They're going in.
Yeah, there's the jump up. They took a tower in the middle, but now they could be in some trouble. Woolite, explosive charges on, but the teleport now finished. Overpow is actually going to rush his way. But, oh, he gets pushed back, excuse me, and pushed back again. So between the Monsoon and the Buster Shot, they don't want Overpow to get anywhere near that duo lane.
That is a perfect example of how Gambit should be able to win team fights as the game progresses. The disengage tools that Gambit have available with just those two champions is great, but you can still use Sejuani Ultimate, you can still use Morgana Ultimate. So Gambit actually have a team comp that can deal with Roccat very effectively. They just need to put themselves in a good position. We're 15 minutes in. They're down 1 tower, but they're still only 1,500 gold. So I think for Gambit, the potential to claw back the gold deficit and gain control of the game is definitely going to be available to them on the condition they use their disengage correctly. Because Overpower, he can't get damage with his Slicing Maelstrom if he's knocked away. So a single Buster Shot, you can save that for him every team fight, deal with Lee Sin or Annie who are going to be flashing in, and if all of that goes belly up, then you hit the Monsoon.
Yeah, that's pretty much the eject button for this Gambit squad. They have been able to pull that off once in the isolated situation. Weren't able to grab the kill on Woolite. However, still playing it out relatively safe, only down about 1,500 gold. Gambit Gaming, though, hanging out closer to this bottom side. There's not much to take here because the Dragon's still a minute and a half away.
Yeah, but look at the positioning for Gambit. They've grouped themselves up. Teleport is available for Cabochard, but he doesn't want to use it yet. And they're going to look for a pickup. They're going to go on Woolite. He's in trouble.
Oh, they've jumped on him. He's going to hop away from the wall. They throw down the Glacial Prison. Hello! And they take him down. Cabochard, Pinoy, going to get the knockback on Vander. Style points awarded. And a kill. Another one goes over to Diamond Prox. A minute on this Dragon. Yanko's bailing out.
You just got Pinoyed. The knockback after the flash was so well timed and executed. Gambit string together 2 kills. They should be able to get a tower, and in theory, the Dragon as well. We did see Cabochard actually teleporting top, so he's going to be defending that objective, and that is the absolute worst possible thing that could have happened for Roccat. Giving the kills over, they did both go to Diamond, of course, but that's not the end of the world. And this is just very smart play. You know, there's a lot of damage that can come out, and a lot of mobility. And Gambit just commit themselves fully to this dive. Once the damage threat is gone from Woolite, it's just easy cleanup.
Yeah, I like how he jumps in first, then flashes, knowing he can knock it back into the team. Pick that one up. So really well played. 3 seconds on this Drake. It's going to be started up, but Roccat are already in position here. They're trying to clear out as much vision as possible. Gambit had moved away from this one. Weren't there to defend it after the fact, and the Dragon's being started.
Yeah, but look at all of the vision that Gambit had placed down deep into Rockat's jungle. They should have information on the positioning. They do, however, get themselves caught out. So deciding not to pick the fight, it's not the end of the world. We have seen teams give up Dragons as long as they can get presence elsewhere on the map. And look at what Gambit have done. They've pushed into the top tower. There's vision in the blue side jungle, red side jungle. Gambit have got tools to create a series of plays, despite the fact they gave up Dragon, but they need to make use of the vision. It's what Giants did not do earlier today. So let's keep our eyes on what Gambit decide to do with the information they'll have ahead of them.
Rocket themselves have been trying to keep quite a lot of vision in this game. Betsy down in the bottom side, waiting in the brush ever so patiently, but there are so many members of Rocket here. He may want to just stay hidden. He's actually going to bail out, get to the safety of the tower shield, clear the waves as they don't want to press on in with the Zed. Don't know where the rest of them are just yet.
No, not this time around. We did see the minions moving towards Betsy, so he's actually going to clear that ward out. No trinket upgrades yet for either team. And that gold lead that Rocket have built up, obviously all gone. You see a few minutes ago that Edward picked himself up that ancient coin.
It's pretty delayed though.
Only earned himself 0 gold thus far. Yeah. So from the looted minions rather. But again, adding to the engage and the disengage. Once that eventually becomes the movement speed increase for his team, it's just going to allow Sejuani, Morgana, Tristana to get in, to get out, and to deal with the threats of Rocket. I'm still not 100% convinced in this double AD comp from Rocket, but Febiven said earlier, if you can complete your Mirror Mana and Trinity Force by around 18 to 22 minutes, you just have the most damage in the game. Quoting verbatim.
Yeah, that's definitely not a bad thing to have on your side. So Rocket using that True Shot Barrage again, clearing the wave out in the middle. Now Gambit focusing a little top heavy between Cabochard and Diamond to push in the wave. Look for the second tier top turret. It is 2-2 that tower score. Not quite 20 minutes into the game, so Baron hasn't come up yet, but there's a lot of vision for Gambit lit up like a Christmas tree in that river to make sure they know exactly when it happens.
Yeah, and you know, just Cabochard keeps pushing. The wards from Gambit timed out on the bottom half of the map, and Gambit did not push there. Betsy did not engage when Warlight and Vander were pushing the wave out, and as a team, there's no tower to fight for Gambit in the bottom half. There's no dragon to fight for, so why risk it? Why go on that area? Cabochard is playing this sort of split push Morgana, and he has all of the vision to his advantage, and that's why you're seeing Diamond in the top half. I'd like to see Sejuani, Diamond Prox rather, move to support the rest of Gambit, and they can put some pressure on this mid tower. If and when Rocket respond, it allows Gambit to transition top and use the vision. Right now, there's no wave clear. This should be an easy kill.
Yeah, no, this is nice to be able to push in the tower, but they do back off away from it. They see enough of the members of Rocket starting to collapse around. However, they've all bailed away from the bottom side, so now Betsy should be able to push in, but he wants to have the call of his team here, see if they want to go for a flank. I don't know. Pinoy's not here. This is going to be kind of a tricky situation.
It's so weird. Gambit don't have the vision on this half of the map, and they decide to push into it. It's a little weird. Oh, that was stolen.
Oh, Betsy. Wow, that's not the first time he's done that either. We saw a few fancy moves yesterday.
Yeah, well played again.
Who needs Smite?
No, definitely not. And that's a good pickup, especially because of the fact that Nukeduck wants to be spamming those abilities with Ezreal over and over and over. So not only is it obviously beneficial for Betsy's split push strategy, it's weakening Nukeduck's overall power. I still think it's a little odd from Gambit. They had a great push up middle, and they decided to go bottom. Yes, Betsy was split pushing, but there was no vision to work with. And all of those wards that Gambit had invested in the top half of the map have now started to time out and disappear. So yes, there are sight stones, and it wasn't all gold investment, but not necessarily using the tools that they had put in place to push the map.
So Rocket covering the cleanup duty on the bottom side, but they were denied that blue buff. Still a little bit behind in the gold game now as Gambit have come up ahead of them by about 800 approximately. Cabochard clearing out the Tormented Soil. Looking to just keep pushing around and take towers where they can.
Yeah, and you know what? I think for Gambit, they're going to be happy playing for the late game. Eventually, it's going to get to the point where Diamond's going to have enough armor and most likely going to grab himself a Thornmail that he can deal with anybody. Tristana is still going to scale particularly well. She's not necessarily as big a hyper carry as she used to be, but still is going to be able to outrange Kalista, is going to be able to disengage. So for Gambit, the game's playing into their favor, and we are seeing a slightly less impactful Rocket than yesterday, but now Betsy's in trouble.
Yeah, he could be. He throws down the Deathmark on Jankos. Actually, might be able to get him in just a moment. The Deathmark is going to pop, but not before Jankos takes him down. In a in a 1v3, that's the best thing that can happen for you, though.
Bar none. What else can Gambit take from this? There is some wave clear from Woolite to the top lane, but Gambit finally going to take out the middle turret.
Oh, and
Cabochard's pushing top, so Gambit should push top.
Oh, those fans are hype, man.
A lot of love from the Irish fans down in the front of the squad.
For this Gambit Gaming team especially.
Schluncher to you all. Cheers in Gaelic, of course.
Ah, thank you for that.
There we go. I just realized I lost.
I'm just sitting there.
I just realized I lost 80% of the
I have no idea what's going on anymore.
I probably butchered the pronunciation, though.
That's okay. Quick shot. Everybody gets a few. Hey, no, they love it. Turning back to this one, we've got a dragon in about 10 seconds. You can see Gambit making moves for this. They've got the map control, but this is easily sighted out. There's so many wards here for Roccat that, they've got eyes all around, but the thing is, they're looking pretty strong all the same.
Yes, they are. Now, as long as Gambit don't get hit up by a multi-man Tibbers, which they cannot do because Tibbers and Slicing Maelstrom are not available, this means that Gambit have got more tools to win a team fight. And look at Diamond. He wants to throw Glacial Prison from the side, but Roccat have found him out.
Yep. Connects on the Resonating Strike. However, Diamond's still big enough to be able to walk away from this one. They are trying to clear out the vision best they can. Here we go.
The longer the stall's out, the more time Roccat have bought for the Slicing Maelstrom for the Tibbers. So this works into Rocket's favor for a team fight. The problem is there is no margin for error. If Roccat do not get multi-man ultimates, they cannot win a straight-up fight, and I think they're too late.
Yep, the Dragon is going down. The Sentinel's going to spot it. They'll have the timer exactly as they need, but that is a small consolation prize when you compare Gambit picking up their first Dragon of the game. Now about 2,000 gold ahead of Roccat here, who have been muscled out of their previous map control.
And Roccat are just making the same mistakes they did yesterday. Yesterday, they were far too passive against H2K. Today, yes, we saw a gank from Jankos, getting him off to a decent enough start, but it hasn't equated into a massive advantage. Pinoy was down 30 CS at one point, and now he's just marginally ahead of Woolite. So all of the positive plays that Roccat had put together from the laning phase are now simply not working off. You've got the Warmog's armor on Diamond. I'm going to assume that's going to be most likely a Thornmail, but if not, even if Diamond decides to go for Frozen Heart for Randuin, any of those things is going to work into Gambit's favor to deal with all of the AD threats that Roccat have put together.
Yeah, this is a little bit troubling for Roccat. It's not just yesterday that they made those mistakes. I mean, this has been symptomatic of a lot of their losses in this split so far, and it seems like when you're making the same mistakes again and again, if you're even aware of what's really the core issue here, they're going to try to push on the top. But Gambit Gaming are just there to defend. They're covering their bases quite well. Yeah,
take a look at the goal difference over time. Rockat's first 15 minutes growing to 3,000 gold lead. It has been equaled and nullified over the last 5 to 10 minutes. So very, very smart play from Gambit. Betsy is continually pushing a side lane. Every time Roccat tried to, apply pressure on a tower or an objective, Betsy's pulling resources away, and you saw Gambit were defending top. So very smart, very intelligent play. Gambit are playing this one safe and by the numbers, and I'm expecting them to get more aggressive around either the Dragons. Ooh, trying to make it.
Yeah, Betsy tried to do it again.
Or most likely the top or middle tower, because that's where Gambit have been trending over towards the red side jungle of Roccat. It also makes sense against 280 carries to sort of deny that red buff.
Yeah, I like you said it by the numbers, too. I think that really does speak to Gambit's versatility, because they can go in and create chaos. They can make some crazy plays that keep you guessing and scratching your head, but they can also play very standard, and that seems to be a way to beat Roccat.
Yeah, Roccat, there's a lot of ways to beat Roccat.
That's a fair point. That's a fair point.
Unfortunately, 4-7 in the league, Gambit on a 6-game winning streak. And, something that just sort of occurred to me. I don't feel like you can ban Gambit out. I feel like if you think about Gambit as a team, maybe Betsy is, really focused on certain assassins, but he's doing fine in the 4 games we've watched. Every other role has just got a plethora of champions they can pick from. And in their last 2 weeks of games, Gambit have just performed exceptionally on every team comp. So it's so difficult to play against a team like this. And now that they've got these items, now that they've got a 3,000 gold lead, it is just a matter of time before Gambit decide to group up in either one of the lanes or try to force a baited team fight around Dragon or Baron. At some point, Roccat has to check. And then Gambit is just going to explode with a Sejuani Morgana combo.
Yeah, that really is all there is to it. Assuming they can execute that one the way that we have seen them be able to time and time again. A lot of wards now, again, littering this bottom for Gambit Gaming, trying to make sure Rocket cannot get the jump on them. Neglecting the top side for now, but that's perfectly all right. They've got all the outer turrets, and they're looking for a little bit more. Diamond is going to jump right towards the ward. Not quite enough time to clear it out after the Raptor camp, though.
And remember, if anybody invests resources into Betsy, this plays into Gambit's advantage. Betsy has not joined his team for the last 6 or 7 minutes, really. He's been stuck in that bottom lane, or he's chose to be in the bottom lane, pushing out over and over. So if we see Vander or Jankos come to help out and deal with this Zed threat, all of a sudden, Gambit have got threat in the top half of the map, on a turret, on a dragon, something like that. So at some point, the pressure from Betsy will either yield a tower, or it will yield a response from Rocket, and that opens up Gambit to do a numbers play elsewhere on the map. Diamond's going to run into Jankos and Vander.
Yes, he is, and there's a teleport on that ward that they weren't able to clear out before the fact. Diamond on the retreat throws down the prison. However, it only catches Jankos, and Diamond is the one who looks like he's going back to base. The Poro falls right over, and Rocket take a big kill for themselves.
So that's the big risk of having your Zed split push. It takes him longer to respond than a teleport would. So unfortunately, Diamond runs into several members of Rocket, does give up a kill. It's not going to yield much because look at the waves top and bottom. It's pushing against Rocket so heavily. And with Nukeduck opting to use his True Shot Barrage mid lane, it means champions have to go deal with top or bottom. So having that tool available to control side lanes, Nukeduck has not necessarily been able to, at least in the last couple of minutes. But that's also a little unfair because Cabochard and Betsy have been pushing them out. It's a misplay from Gambit to get caught out there.
Yeah, I think that's really the only way you can put it. Now, Woolite starting to scale up pretty well. You can see him hop, skip, and jumping around now that he's got his Hurricane. And, of course, the Silver Sash also for a little bit of extra escape. But Jankos wishes he had some of that himself. Deathmark is on. Betsy kicked back. The Deathmark still burning. And he is going to get popped at the red pit.
And that's why Betsy's great on Assassins. I think he's finding perfect kills with the jungler down. Gambit should decide to bait Baron. They've got great vision in the pit. They can also turn in team fight. Buster Shot's about to become available. Glacial Prison's about to become available. I think this is smart from Gambit, but they should try to remain grouped. If Diamond gets caught out alone, there's a lot of CC and damage that can take him out. He's decided he wants the red buff, though.
Yep, he's going to be pulling that one away. Woolite now moving around cautiously. Overpower and Vander are there. He's going to try to grab that red buff. Meanwhile, Gambit very silently taking this Baron. It is oh so low, and they do smite it on down. A little bit late to check, and here we go. The coin pop, they throw down the prison. Everyone is so slow to Overpower, moving right back into the middle, and he's going to get Azanias at the very last second. Woolite is able to pick up Pinoy in all of the chaos. It's actually a 1-for-1 so far, but they're not done yet. Exhaust is down. He's still kiting away, however. They can't find Woolite, and a big shutdown comes from Vander as he picks up Betsy, a 2-for-1. But the Baron over to Gambit Gaming. Oh, still not done, Edward.
No,
living dangerously.
Not the greatest of team fights from Gambit. They simply did not get the damage dealer threats down quickly enough. Despite playing ping pong with Overpower, I think the disengage was slightly stacked, and they didn't get the most optimal knock away or knock back. So Rocket managed to get 2 kills on the board and push in for the inhibitor.
Yeah, this is the decisive movement that they've been needing all game. The inhibitor very, very low. Gambit looking to try and answer back, but for still, there just isn't enough damage. Diamond going down. Nukeduck is able to pick him up and just poke him down. And Rocket now have found some momentum on their side. They've closed the gold gap.
More importantly than that is the Baron buff's been taken off. I think that's 4 members of Gambit in total. Take a look at how the Buster Shot into the Monsoon knocks Overpower sideways and then down. Pinoy needed to have gotten rid of Overpower's cannon, I think, much earlier. That would have allowed Gambit to focus down Woolite. Because of the fact that they layered or stacked their disengage on top of one another, it allowed Woolite to just quite literally hop through the entire Gambit team, winning the team fight, setting up the play for the inhibitor. And then I'm just going to quickly double-check Gambit's members. Yeah, Cabochard's the only one with Baron as well as Edward, so 3 of them down. We'll see if they can use that to push the other lanes where there's no super minions.
And in case you were wondering where exactly the Dragon did go after the fact, Rocket was able to pick that one up. You see it flash on your screen. That is number 3 for them, so they'll have even more mobility to kite around this Gambit squad And yeah, 1,000 gold difference between these two teams. Now the Baron buff's only sitting on one member of Gambit for the next couple of minutes. Two, excuse me. Yeah, Roccat are still going to be in pretty good shape if they can control where Gambit are going on the map.
I think that 5% movement speed for Roccat is really massive. If they are able to kite around the Dark Bindings and try to dodge the Glacial Prisons, that's how Roccat can win these team fights. You can see how quickly they can move around a map and take down towers. But for Gambit, they need to deal with the supers in the middle lane as well as the side lanes. Bottom is pushing towards Gambit's base. Roccat have got a numbers advantage in the top. So you've got this sort of paused button while Gambit wait for those super minions to stop spawning in the middle.
It's not often you see the Baron-empowered minions being the ones that are shoved back, but Roccat have done just yet. That they'll be able to back and keep themselves in a good map position here. 33.5 minutes into the game. They've started to grab control of this map themselves. Still quite a lot of wards on Gambit's side of their own, really, but that hasn't yielded them much up here.
No, not for the time being, but a big pickup from the previous team fights is Diamond completing that Thornmail. He got it around 32 minutes. So if Diamond is able to jump onto the front line and try to keep Nukeduck or Woolite busy, it should allow the rest of Gambit to try and focus down one of the AD carries. The problem for Betsy, with 2 QSSs, his options for Deathmark are lower. So for Betsy, he needs time to get multiple auto attacks and multiple spell costs off to take a target down. So we'll see, again, whether or not Betsy can do that. He's 3 for 3, he's managed to burst down a few, but obviously this QSS is going to make life more difficult.
Oh yes, they will. And Roccat altogether, you know, they've been performing individually well, but I feel like the standout performance has really just been the teamwork here. Now Woolite, can he make his way out of danger? The Buster shot was not enough damage to take him down, and now there is a Roccat collapse. Here comes the cannon. Overpower actually going to bail out as the teleport comes in for Gambit Gaming. Roccat trying to beat the retreat. Eddie is going to throw down the exhaust. There's another shot there, and there's the bullet. They're slowing him down. Diamond in some trouble. Well, excuse me, he's causing Roccat to feel the burn, is what I meant to say. 35 minutes in, Gambit are trying to push this one back. Roccat are going to have to back away for the time being. They've got a small minion wave here, though.
Yeah, but look how quickly this tower's going to drop. We saw this from Pinoy earlier. Explosive charge, a couple of auto attacks, and boom, tower secured. Yes, Woolite was able to survive the engage from Pinoy a moment or two ago, the QSS removing the debuff of that bomb, but it doesn't matter because Gambit got the objective. They did push down the tower. They should be able to tank this one up. Again, explosive charge plus auto attacks. That'll be most of the HP, but it's not going to be enough to kill it.
Not quite that. So Overpow is going to, with the rest of the team, force Gambit back. As tanky as Diamond was, they've got to deal now with these minions that are pushing in the middle. They completely sidestepped them and just cut the corner to try and take down that tower, but now they have to pay the price for it. Roccat going to grab some more of that map control back for themselves. This game is still oh so close, Quickshot.
It really, really is, but I do still feel that if Gambit can get another team fight that goes in their favor, that is how they're going to just win this game out. The problem that Gambit had, and the reason that they're now lacking control, is again because Pinoy and Edward stacked up their disengage. They stacked up their knock away. So Pinoy's just going to have a faster trigger finger to get rid of Overpower before he can get that Slicing Maelstrom into the middle of the team. And of course, once they can get rid of him, the rest of Gambit has to jump onto Nukeduck or Woolite.
Roccat are trying to force the issue here in the top side, but this time Gambit are ready. That wave clear just too strong, and they're going to back away disappointed.
Yeah, the biggest problem that Gambit's also going to face going forward is their limited vision in the jungle or around Baron or Dragon. With a minute for Baron, a minute 20 for Dragon, Roccat actually have the opportunity to play the baiting game. Gambit, they do have 2 oracles. You can see they realize they have to face check their opponents, and they don't have vision control. So I really like 2 blue trinkets, and that's going to allow Gambit to negate their limited or their lacking vision. And every time Gambit are pushing these waves out, I feel they have to have wards in the inventory. There's still slots available, and I'd like to see them placing more wards down. Otherwise, they run the risk of getting caught out.
Yeah, even with that double Sightstone, investing in wards is never a bad idea. Roccat going to be roaming heavily together here. Overpow's not quite there. Nukeduck has really been getting off a lot of these pot shots, and that's what made Gambit think twice about some of these engagements.
Yeah, but look, that was what, 2, 3 auto attacks and a Mystic shot. Diamond did not lose a whole lot of HP.
It's true.
So yes, Nukeduck is getting damage off, but it is against a Warmog's Giant's Belt Thornmail. So Diamond just needs to run interference. He just needs to pull people away. Vision is being cleared out around Baron, which is just about to spawn. And if Rocket were to start it, it's no longer a 50-50 smite when you have Kalista on your team.
That's true.
So if Rocket play the aggressive Baron bait, they're in a 70-30 Baron scenario if you can stack your smite plus Rend together.
Well, I'm not going to attempt to do math again, but Rocket definitely have the advantage in that regard. Diamond is going to be wandering into the Baron pit. I don't know why he doesn't throw down anything to sweep it out. But Eddie, Betsy, they're trying to set up for some good positioning here. Meanwhile, though, Nukeduck is just going to be able to solo the Dragon. So as long as Rocket can drag Gambit around, they're perfectly happy here, and that is number 5.
This is so scary for Gambit. With one Dragon left before Rocket get aspect of the Dragon, and all of the bonus attack damage and AP that comes with it, I'm still not 100% convinced that that alone will be enough. It's obviously going to be massively, massively effective. But for Rocket, their very temperamental team fight is still going to be at risk. But you notice Gambit, they are pushing the waves out. They're doing a better job at getting vision down. Baron is now once again in control from Gambit. And with the minion wave top, and the fact that Nukeduck went up to deal with it personally, it just allowed Gambit to sneak a tower. I really don't think Nukeduck is using his True Shot Barrage well enough to control side lanes while still being with his team.
Yeah, these are 2 AD carries on these teams that just do drastically different things with regards to objectives and team fights. Pinoy, just such a massive tower detonation with that Tristana sitting on 3 items. And on the other hand, you know, Woolite, he's been dancing around in these fights, but when they two come to a head, I think it's going to be really, really explosive.
Yeah, the problem Gambit has, if they play this Baron bait game, they are the ones that are going to struggle. Minions top and bottom are pushing against the Gambit base, and there's only a limited amount of time before those minions will to start dealing huge amount of damage. Gambit, they're trying to play with vision. They're trying to prevent Rocket starting Baron because of the threat of that Kalista. And Dark Bind does connect, but Jankos manages to safeguard away.
Yeah, he was knocked up. He was pushed back after all of that one. So Gambit Gaming still trying to force their way around this map. However, they've got to deal with the minions on the bottom side. That's a big wave building up.
Yeah, and they're doing the right thing. They're sending the guy with teleports. The reason Gambit lost the Baron fight, or the red buff fight earlier, when Diamond was caught, was because of the fact that Betsy on Zed was doing it. What we've seen over the last, let's call it 12 minutes, Betsy has not been split pushing. He's been sticking with his team because he needs to have the damage down. He needs to be involved in the fight. And it's Cabochard with his teleport that's clearing out the wave. Now Gambit should start playing the Baron bait. Now they should start trying to get control of that area.
We'll see if they can do that undetected. It's going to be hard. A lot of Rocket vision covering that area. And speaking of vision, I really like that when they've been pink warding it, they've also been placing the green ward down. Normally, you don't always see it, but this time Diamond was prepared for it.
Yeah, keep in mind, Gambit do not have Pinoy with them. So for Rocket to win a team fight, they need 2 things to happen. One of 2 things to happen. Either get rid of Betsy or Pinoy's damage very early with a Fate's Call, Annie, plus True Shot Barrage damage. You can combo those or, you know, get some auto attacks from Woolite. Or find a way to get Overpower into the middle of the team. Right now it's Gambit. They want to start the fight. Remember, Pinoy and Cabochard are still going to be late as they were just regrouping. And the stalemate is happening because Rocket cannot start team fights. They don't really want to against a very good 5v5 team of Gambit with all a disengage.
Yep, that is in fact the trouble. So we'll take the safe route this time. It's just going to be wave clears back and forth. Pinoy trying to take a few pot shots where he can. And the ward wars have really been the story of this Baron side of the map, trying to clear it out back and forth. Cabochard will clear out another one. And they're actually going to go ahead and start this Baron. This is really risky, but if they don't side it out, this could go over very well for Gambit.
Yeah, keep in mind, if Rocket group up, the disengage and team fight from Gambit could be strong if they get a multi-man CC. You can see that Diamond is looking for a Glacial Prison to connect with. But so scared of the damage, so scared of what Nukeduck and Woolite can put out. I'd love to find out how many wards have been killed on both sides, because there's been significantly more of ward vision battles than anything else. Yeah. I mean, we're approaching 6 items.
It's going to tell the story of it. You know, you won't have as many wards to play with after that point, especially considering we're not seeing any of those upgraded green trinkets. So you're not going to get that discount Sightstone, as Deficio likes to refer to them. It's just going to be relying on the Sightstones and what you still have in your inventories. And it's going to make this game dynamic play out very differently in the very late game, which we're fastly approaching.
It is. And you know, for Gambit, they got punished once with Betsy split pushing, and they've decided not to do it again, despite the fact that they've got all of the abilities to deal with a team fight 4 and 5. If they had just let Bitsy pull some threat and deal with those side lanes and relied on all of the disengage to the rest of the champions, they could have dealt with a team fight. Instead, it's the Baron bait game. Flash is available for Vander and the stun. This could come down to a 50-50 smite. They're going in!
Well, you mentioned that has not necessarily always been the way to do it. It's going to get picked up, but Betsy had to secure that one. Jankos burning away, but he finally is able to live after they just knock him away. And Gambit, by the skin of their teeth, pick up the bear and get out alive.
Yeah, the AD carries from Rocket did not necessarily commit fully to that fight. Jankos, he pulled Betsy away. It was actually Betsy that got the last hit, I believe, right near the end. But what can Gambit do with Baron? This is the second time they've got it. They're going to be the ones that, again, lose an objective after securing the Baron buff. Facial Prison available for Diamond. He may want to go in and see if he throws it out. Decides against it.
You can kite for days with that Kalista. Woolite is proving to Diamond right now. He's going to get distracted by the Tibbers. For just a minute, 30 seconds on this Dragon.
Gambit cannot afford to give it up. Aspect of the Dragon is available for Rocket. This is going to be their 5th Dragon, so I think it's smart of them to push out the bottom lane. What they need to do after this Dragon is secured is split push. They have to push the side lanes. It's very, very clear waiting to group of 5 is not yielding results because Gambit have not found members of Rocket to jump on.
Oh, you got to be careful, Diamond. He's going to get the black shield on, but Rocket are going to back away. And you're right, it's such a tense situation for both these teams. Gambit cannot give up this Dragon, but they have to get back and defend their base, and there's also minions in the top.
Yes, if Gambit leave... Oh, overpowered!
Oh my goodness, he's going to throw down the Zhonya's at the last minute. They may have distracted. Cabochard, though, is going to pick up the kill, and now Gambit are just rolling all over Rocket. 2 kills to none. They're bailing out of this one. They still got to deal with the minions, but there is a lot of damage here for Gambit Gaming, and they've hit the gas pedal.
Yeah, with Baron buff and the ability to just melt down these towers, we may see them push very, very quickly. Dragon is live, so we need to see if they can peel away to secure that. That entire setup started from a massive crit from Pinoy. He hit Overpower for around 600 damage, and then followed up with a Dark Binding. Overpower was instantly removed from the fight. That could have been very close.
That could have been.
But Gambit secure the 2nd Dragon, the tower pushing power. They have Baron, and they've got themselves a 5k gold lead, but you see how scary close those engages are.
Yes, but crucially here, they denied Rocket that 5th one, the all-important 5th Dragon buff. Gambit are still, they're playing this out so dangerously, but they win on that gamble, and they're still in this one.
They are, but you still don't feel like they're in control. Like,
no, it's really hard. It's a roller coaster of emotion here, Quickshot.
It's the 2nd Baron is about to time out. Gambit, yes, they got their 2nd Dragon. They delayed the 5th one. So there's another 5 minutes where they can be safe from giving that up. But Gambit still have an inner turret to take down. They still have not cracked the base of Rocket. So Rocket have got all of the damage in the world, and we're going to keep seeing these side lane pushes happening. We're going to keep seeing Nukeduck and Woolite clearing out the waves, and Gambit looking for an opportunity to engage, but they've been very, very passive and slow.
Yes, indeed they have. Baron buff's now gone for Gambit. Got their 2nd Dragon of the game, trying to muscle out Vision in this jungle. Rocket playing very, very cautiously back in their own base, and there is a tower up top that Gambit is hearing call its name. Now they're going to move back to mid, as I said.
And this is smart. This is what Gambit should have done, or should have been doing. Use the Vision in the jungle to switch between middle and top. It's what Deficio keeps praising SK for doing when they win their games, is having the ability to transition between objectives quickly and effectively. And when you combo a 6-item Tristana with a Janna shield, I mean, this tower should blow up. I mean, how low did that go? Down to 400 hit points out of 2,500. If Gambit had been doing that earlier, they could have got more control. And look at this. Now they get a minion wave top. So finally, they're adapting and learning, but it has taken quite a long time.
Yeah, use those minion waves. True Shot Barrage not going to take nearly enough of them out there. Rocket are here to defend this one, but they can clear it out so fast. They've got to find the fight, though. Everyone's health bars are starting to melt. The tower is already down. A pair of Zhonya's hourglasses as Overpow is going to eventually get mopped up. He goes down, but they trade for Betsy. Diamond is coming up big here, and they also took out Vander at the very end of all that one. Gambit in a 4v3 can continue to push on. They've got another minion wave at the fact. This Tristana just wrecking through these towers. Nukeduck, he can't stick around. Inhibitor is gonna go over to Gambit in just a moment. Yep, Down it goes.
Very well played from Gambit. They stacked their disengage correctly. Vander tried to set up a fight, but he jumped flash straight into a Dark Binding. And once he was connected, Diamond, I think, caught 5 members of the Glacial Prison, which were all knocked back. So a very well-executed team fight from Gambit. They forced Rocket into a chokehold and then used their AoE disengage to stay alive.
The first rule of lane warfare, do not group up. Quick shot, let's take a look at how that
I
happened.
really hope this goes slow. So 4 members caught from Glacial Prison. Jankos was down at the bottom. But notice how the entire team of Roccat is pushed away thanks to Monsoon. And then, of course, you've got the rest of Gambit focusing down one target at a time. Pinoy is finally able to go aggressive thanks to the zoning and the presence that Betsy put on the map. Gambit play out their 5v5 team fight the way it was designed and show you the weaknesses of Rocket's team fight. Rocket should not be in a straight-up battle like that. They look to catch somebody off guard, catch somebody flanking, and Overpower being, disengaged obviously meant they couldn't do that.
Now, Gambit, they've let the moment take a breather, but they grab themselves that inhibitor. They're starting to get the map pressure out that they really need. The wards, a lot of them have started to expire. We've seen a lot less wards being placed down after the slots have started to fill up here. Gambit Gaming on the offensive still, but Roccat,
it's a slow
very,
offensive.
very slow.
It's a slow offensive, but what is good to note, yes, we're 50 minutes into the game. It's not been particularly exciting, but neither team has made massive mistakes. You could optimize their way they play, right? So if you look at the game holistically, Roccat have not necessarily played bad. They've not necessarily been caught out of position, but you could have done things slightly better. And it's good to see Roccat actually putting up a bit of a fight, because yesterday against HTK, they didn't even do that. Yesterday against HTK, it just felt like they were waiting to lose, if that makes sense. Whereas here, Roccat have been more aggressive. They have been more proactive. Unfortunately for them, this double AD comp just did not have the ability to 5v5, and now Gambit pushing in for a second inhibitor. This one nearly uncontested.
Yeah, they just do so much damage to it, even if Rocket can push them back immediately. Pinoy is really the secret ingredient to this tower pushing success. That Tristana full build right now just absolutely destroys structures. Demolitions expert coming in here. Now, Rocket, they have to deal with the minions on the top, but there's still the threat in the middle. They can't give anything up.
Yeah, super minions pouring into Rockat's base. Gambit doing a good job of playing the map. Super minions top, there's normal minions in the bottom lane. Once Gambit take this inhibitor, the safe play is to roll around bottom, grab the tower, grab that inhib, and then peel back for Dragon. We'll see if they decide to do that. It's 30 seconds before the next Dragon spawns.
Yeah, Rocket, they keep trying to make plays to save the day here, but it's just not happening. And you take a look at Edward and Betsy backing away. They're going to actually take their time about this one. They can roll bot, but they can also take their time if they want. 22 seconds on the next Dragon. Baron is now live. Rocket, they're just a little slow to respond. You actually see a couple members of Gambit hanging out by this Baron pit to make sure that it doesn't happen without any contention.
Yeah, that's definitely a smart play, and again, just absolutely safe. Don't run the risk of getting taken out with an exposed inhibitor at 50 minutes. One bad team fight costs the entire game. GA has picked up for Betsy. Super minions in 2 lanes. Roccat are going for broke. They want Aspect of the Dragon.
They absolutely need it at this point to save the day, but they're not going to get it. Diamond stealing away the buff. Rocket in so much trouble right now. Gambit Gaming, they are trying to run the play, but no one for Rocket has actually gone down just yet. Cabochard, Betsy, they've gone down. Nukeduck is going to be the one. However, they have to get back and defend their base. Vander, he's going down a double kill. Pinoy getting the reset, going so low. Oh, a triple kill. Oh my goodness, not quite the quadra. It's gonna go over to Diamond, but still, they get everyone but Overpow looking to end the game right now. Quick shot.
Finally, Gambit managed to punish Roccat in the Dragon Pit. Roccat went for the Desperation Dragon, and they get punished for it. Gambit able to spread and distract all of the Roccat members. Overpow is aced. Gambit 7-0.
Yes, that is the ring of things. 52 minutes into this game, Gambit Gaming have come up with another win. And who would have thought, after going down 5 games to open the split, they have thundered back with 7 in a row, as you said. Shaking hands with the team they were able to take down in 52, just there.
So 12 games played, Roccat find themselves 4-8. Gambit, though, massive fan support.
Oh,
And
yes.
rightfully so. I mean, 7 games in a row.
How can you not love these guys?
Hashtag 13-5 the dream. With every game played, I believe it more. And Woolite is just destroyed.
Yeah, I mean, that face says it all, man. But these fans are just loving this Gambit team and what they're doing week in and week out. The improvement that we have seen from this squad is just so unreal. Look at that big smile on Leviathan's face.
And you know what? It's not a flashy win, but it doesn't need to be. It was intelligent. It was well worked out. It was coordinated, and Gambit played safely the entire time.
And that illustrates the style, too. I mean, he said it on the desk yesterday, I believe. Leviathan, you know, it doesn't matter how we do it. A win's a win.
I completely agree. When you're sitting in the position they are now, you start looking at Giants and Roccat to be the potential 8th and 9th ranked teams in the league. Meteor Makers are currently, I think, 1-10, if not 1-11. I've got to double check that one off the top of my head. 1-10, potentially 1-11 today if Unicorns win. But assuming Meteor Makers continue to struggle, Roccat, a team that was touted that we felt could be a top 4 contender, is just not finding the magical ingredients, not finding what their opponents are finding. Gambit has managed to fix problems. Copenhagen Wolves, H2K, they've all turned around and they've all upped their gameplay. And Roccat just still looking for something to make it work.
An answer. I mean, they just have not been able to come up with one. And I feel like it's not that they're playing particularly poorly. They've been a little indecisive, perhaps. They're not able to execute, maybe. But it's just that all these teams in the LCS are leveling up, and they're getting left in the dust.
Yeah, they are. And I'm going to go back to this double AD comp. The Annie was picked up in second rotation here for Roccat. They already had their Kalista locked in. They went Ezreal as well. Had they taken away the Janna, the disengaged power, had they given themselves more tools to deal with Morgana, to deal with Sejuani, that could have played into their favor. We're seeing these double AD comps more and more and more, and we're seeing the same weaknesses in Europe. European teams are going for engage in their top lanes and supports, and it's not working out. It's not buying time for the AD carries to get the damage down that they need to.
I agree. I think that is definitely shown to not necessarily be an optimal strategy in the regard. But going back over to Gambit's side, this is now the 4th game we've had Betsy play. 3 of them have been on Assassins. This time he didn't come up with an absolutely monster KDA, but nonetheless, he still made some massive impacts. He was dragging them all over the place. I mean, Betsy has done quite a lot in the 2-week stint that he's had with Gambit Gaming, and I think they're very, very happy with that choice that they made, even in the interim.
Yeah, I think so too. And Nick was actually here in the studio yesterday. He may be here today as well, and I had a bit of a discussion with Leviathan regarding the swap. I think Betsy has done fantastic on Assassins, and I think as a new player that's come in, it feels like Betsy just sort of follows the lead. Betsy does what the team needs. I do feel like Nick as a player is a little bit more of a leader. So I'm very interested and intrigued to see what happens next week when Leviathan and the rest of the Gambit squad do have the opportunity to decide who they want to field. We might see a European team start thinking about having an active sub that they can swap out like you see in the LCK region. It's a lot to be discussed and a lot to think about, and I can't wait to see what Gambit decide.
Yeah, definitely a lot of questions involving those ones, but the good kind of questions at the very least. Now, for a deeper dive into Gambit's 7th straight win, let's send it back to Shox and Deficio.
Thank you very much, Pyro. We're joined here by Gambit's AD carry Pinoy and their coach Leviathan after that win over Roccat. Congratulations, first up, that's 7 wins on the board in a row, fantastic. But I gotta ask you, maybe Leviathan, because you were on the sidelines and seeing that mid lane develop, some of those were gambles that paid off, maybe luckily for you guys.
Yeah, I don't know. I think I don't even know what to say. I'm still in shock from the game. And when I watch the games, like when the team is playing live, I watch it just like a kid, like a fan. I don't analyze the games when they're live. I watch them. I just get super involved in the energy. So if we're gonna reference like a specific point of the game, like I honestly don't remember.
All right, I'll tell you the specific point in the game where you guys didn't go for Dragon, then you did start it, and it was super risky. You did manage to secure it, but Roccat could have just swooped in and taken it. It was you guys could have gone mid, you guys could have gone bottom, you guys could have gone top, but you decided to try and go for that Baron. Do you remember now?
No.
I think so. Basically, what it is, you guys in your playstyle, when it comes to the late game, if you feel like you have the better late game comp, you'll find just sitting back and like playing I wouldn't say passive, because you do try and make plays around the Baron, but you don't really go for any aggressive pushes. We don't see like deep wards coming in and playing around that part. Is that just your tactic saying we want to take it easy late game and just go for this Baron all of a sudden?
Yeah, it's like we have our win conditions in the game, and we're always discussing at all points what's the most optimal way for us to win the game. And I'm sure the team had come up with an idea or a specific line that they felt was going to be the most successful. And so even though something may appear to a spectator to be more optimal, when we're in game, we decide on the line and we take the line.
Sure.
And yeah.
And I think it's what we talked about often with shot calling. It's better all to be on the same page. And it might not be the optimal one, but as long as everyone follows that,
yeah, exactly.
It works for you. And don't just like split up. So for you, Pinoy, early game, we just asked you before we went live here about Kalista and Tristana lane. You said you're not going to win it when your support dies at level 2. What happened there? Because normally jungle timing, like 3 minutes and 20 seconds, is pretty normal time for the jungler to have double buff, and yet you guys got caught out. What went wrong?
We knew that Lee was going around bot side, and we just didn't place the ward early enough, so we just got punished by it, because we already, 10 seconds before it happened, we discussed that they're 100% going to flash any stun us. That's what they usually do in their recent games, but we just was a bit lazy on putting the ward earlier.
Okay. And normally you guys would have won the matchup, I guess?
It's a 50-50 matchup. Normally you can have Tristana shoving in all the time, and that's what you usually want to do. So I shouldn't be behind the 10-20 CS as I was this game, but it's normally you're even on CS in this matchup.
And we had discussed in the pick and ban phase that we don't win this game like at level 6 or pre-6, but we definitely lose the game in the early game. So it was really important that the players during laning phase were paying attention to the enemy's aggression, because yeah, like I said, we weren't going to win the game in the early, but we definitely could have lost it.
Yeah, and you could have lost it late as well, but you guys got some good picks off actually around the dragon when Roccat was almost getting their 5th dragon. Actually, let's get a replay up on the screen. For me, very important moment in the game for you guys. Pinoy, walk us through this one.
So yeah, it's their 5th Drake, and our 2nd, and we want 100% to fight this, I think. And so we find the Kennen here, and it's like super free kill. I jump onto, I see that Kalista is gonna be low soon, and she's like super split from the team. So I just jump to her, and it's like we're completely zoned on one target all the time. Because at this stage, I think I can outdamage both Ezreal and Kalista. Late game Tristana is really strong.
So you had been late game for a while though, so actually you could have taken fights a bit earlier.
Well, for you guys, if you look at the 2 team comps, especially with this double AD we see so often, Ezreal mid lane coming in, what is like your winning condition in a team fight itself when you play against the likes of Ezreal, Kalista, and you guys obviously have the Sejuani as the big tank?
So when we're going into a team fight like that, we just make sure that Kennen is nowhere near our AD carry, because I'm like super hyper carry, and I can outdamage both of them if I have the correct position. And Sett usually zones their backline, at least one of their AD carries. So if we fight it correctly with them zoning Kennen away from me and and Sett the zoning the AD carries, I'm just free to do whatever, and it just works out the fight.
And if you take a look at the compositions, just on paper, the engage from Rocket's team composition is very strong, but we also had very strong disengage. So when we were going into the game, what we had discussed for team fights was we wanted to look for the disengage first. So when they came in with their ultimates, we wanted to make sure we backed out, made ourselves safe, and then once Maelstrom was on cooldown, once Tibbers was on cooldown, then we could look for opportunities to re-engage the fight.
Yep. And you guys did. Congratulations, 7-0. That is mighty impressive of Gambit Gaming. In just a few minutes, the Unicorns of Love will face Meet Your Makers in our final match of the week in one of many must-win games for MYM. Don't touch that browser. We'll be right back.
Gambit Gaming, 6 wins in a row. Can they make it 7, or will Roccat derail the hype train? And here we go, the coin pop, they throw down the prison. Everyone is so slow to overpower, moving right back into the middle, and he's going to get a Zhonya's at the very last second.
Oh,
oh my goodness, he's gonna throw down the Zhonya's at the last minute. They may have distracted. Cabochard, though, is gonna pick up the kill. Everyone's health bars are starting to melt. The tower is already down. A pair of Zhonya's hourglasses as Overpow is gonna eventually get mopped up.
And then take care, guys. Take care, you need to clean up. It's 3-4.
You can fight.
Take care.
Nice, shoot in 2 seconds. Go Pinoy!
Gambit Gaming have come up with another win.